When you think of SoundCloud, you probably think of, or SoundCloud rap, you probably think of the likes of Juice WRLD, X, Ski Mask, Lil Uzi Vert. But there's also many other artists, of course, you can think of. But in addition to launching small artists into the mainstream, it also was a way to launch subgenres of hip hop, such as emo rap. Of course, SoundCloud was founded in 2007 and was a free audio distribution platform and music sharing website to upload, promote, and share audio straight to listeners. You can just see the wide list of artists that started from this platform and now are big names in the hip hop world. At this time, there was a shift in the music industry where no longer do you need to go to your store to buy a CD. Instead, you just pay a monthly subscription fee to Apple Music, Spotify, or Pandora to consume music straight from the platform. And SoundCloud was a free platform to do this, which is why so many young artists use this as a way to create music and find an audience, explore a niche, and get their music out to be heard for the world. And that's where emo rap came into play. You can see in this picture the three poster boys, I guess, of emo rap started to create a music catered to their audience and what they're going through. And emo rap pretty much covered things like addiction and battling depression and other mental health battles as well, that a lot of their listeners can relate to, because I mean, we all relate to pain. We all have problems that we go through. And just like how we listen to a high energy hip hop or rock song before a basketball game to get us hyped up, before we were thinking about a girl that we have a crush on in high school, we listen to like love songs or something like that. We listen to music for feel. We want to feel the music and the state of mind that we're in and relate to these artists. And for emo rap, battling these types of things like depression and battling mental health stuff, you can look at Kid Cudi to be one of the pioneers in doing that, because a lot of his stuff is rapping about his own personal battles with depression and addiction and all that stuff, as opposed to what the mainstream is putting out with sex and gun violence, shooting people, and lean and, being a pimp and whatnot. So not everyone can relate to that, which is why SoundCloud was really it was a perfect storm for emo rap to emerge out of, for young artists to create music catered to listeners that that they can relate to. And ultimately they grew cult-like followings for all three of these artists, and they really became successful right away. I mean, a lot of these SoundCloud rappers, quote unquote, did ultimately go mainstream. I guess you all know these artists, and someone like XXXTentacion, who is probably the biggest SoundCloud rapper / emo rapper. You can already see in 2018 he's competing with the likes of Drake and Post Malone, which is such a meteoric rise to success. It's actually crazy how fast he blew up because of his fan base just truly adored him. Ultimately starting with his song "Look at Me," which is just this bass boosted, crazy, rageful song. And when he announced a first album to release in, I think, 2017 or 2016 or 2017, everyone pretty much expected, his listeners, the music industry expected that type of album. And he really just kind of flipped the scripts and released his first album, 17, which was a super emotionally vulnerable, heart-spilling, gut-wrenching album, talking about the pain that he's going through and battling depression. And of course, the first song off of that album was Jocelyn Flores, which is him opening up about the pains of dealing with a former girlfriend or someone he had a relationship who ultimately committed suicide, and just the pain that resonated with him that he explored through his music. And it was quite a beautiful album. I'd say it's probably one of the most influential hip hop albums of the past 5 years, heck, maybe even the past decade, because just being super vulnerable with that type of stuff was kind of unheard of, and it was really paved the way for a lot of artists to do the same. Of course, you see Juice WRLD in this list as well. Of course, a lot of his music is talking about his battles with addiction and depression as well. Addiction to drug abuse, unfortunately. And a quote from XXXTentacion, which I think perfectly encapsulates why emo rap was so digestible and so appealing and so relatable, is because it's something you can find comfort in. It's very comforting, but discomforting at the same time to listen to. You can see from 2016 through 2018 when SoundCloud Rap was kind of at its peak. You can just see how profitable it began, or how it was in up to 2018. Just how fast the SoundCloud really started to become, with its listeners, and why there's so many SoundCloud rappers that are successful now, because it was just the perfect timing in the social media age and the streaming age for artists to utilize this platform. And of course, the three poster boys, I guess, of emo rap, Lil Peep, X, and Juice World, unfortunately, as you know, did die subsequently, 2017, 2018, 2019, with Lil Peep dying from over drug overdose, X being murdered in his car with his uncle in the car, and Juice World died from drug overdose, which again was something that he really explored in his music. And it goes back to that quote earlier from Queen's Journal, where emo rappers unfortunately don't push people to healthily confront their mental illnesses or emotional dilemmas. It's kind of just a platform for them to kind of be sad and cope with it, as opposed to actually dealing with it in healthy ways. And it's quite unfortunate. And that's why I think emo rap and SoundCloud kind of go hand in hand, because of its influence on not only the hip hop industry, but just the music industry in general. It emerged at a time where people were starting to become, where the world became hand in hand with social media and streaming. And so many young listeners that were vulnerable can listen and relate to their artists, and share in the pain that they're going through. And just the depressions and taboo topics like mental health illness. And when they listen to their music, they can, then those chords and melodies strikes their heart. It really resonates with them to feel the music, or even not feeling anything at all.